Good morning, everybody. It's my honest pleasure to welcome you here in Vienna at this beautiful conference, which we have convened on legal arbitrage and corporate finance. I take it that a couple of participants and intervenients are still missing because there's a lot going on in Vienna right now. Traffic seems to be horrible, but I guess we should be starting anyway because we have some online contributors who are unfortunately less flexible as to time than we are. I would like to say something about the location where we're meeting. We're meeting at the Oskar Morgenstern-Platz, and as you're well aware, Oskar Morgenstern and John von Neumann, at the time, mathematicians are now almost, repatriated, or how I should say, naturalized into the self-perceived scholarship of economics, really, which is why still this entire building is dedicated both to the mathematics and to the economics faculty of the University of Vienna. In our institute, the Center for Comparative Corporate Finance Law, we have a rather legal focus in in research and in teaching. However, at the same time, as economics are our natural ally, we deemed it fit to split this conference. And this gives me the opportunity to get this out there from the get-go. So we meet here today, but tomorrow we'll be at the law faculty, the so-called Juridicum, also at the top floor. So it's always the top floor, but just a different building. As to the topic of the conference, let me start with 2 or 3 reflections to get us going until I hand it over to Noreen. The one fascinating aspect of the field of corporate finance, in my view, is that it cuts across traditional legal disciplines. So from a traditional point of view, you have contract law, capital markets law, corporate law, insolvency law, and many others intersecting in this rather phenomenological task of providing companies, notably, with capital. Now, this is interesting per se, and this is why we are doing it. This is why we're doing corporate finance also, because intellectually speaking, it's just very challenging and interesting. At the same time, it opens up a venue for arbitrage in a very specific way, which I will call the race below the bottom. What do I mean by this? So, generally speaking, the idea of race to the bottom is well known, okay? You have competing legal orders, and arbitrage decisions lead to favoring, I'm giving you the broad idea, of course, lead to favoring the least regulated, the most flexible legal order, thereby lowering the standards for all in the long term, which the European Union, for example, has been challenging or trying to combat with harmonization, i.e. establishing common legal standards for all. We see that, for example, when it comes to the freedom of establishment with the company law directive. Now, the funny thing about corporate finance is that we have intersecting multiple arbitrage decisions on various levels. So, in fact, you can decide to go for a, say, French Société Anonyme. You can have the center of main interest of that Société Anonyme in Vienna. You can list the bonds of that company in Luxembourg while you list the shares, say, in Frankfurt. When it comes to choosing the applicable law to your bonds, you can make yet another choice. And so really what you end up with is the corporate finance statute consists of a whole series of arbitrage decisions which intersect. And at least theoretical, by intersection, you can try to undercut even the least regulated participating legal order, because you can basically do cherry picking on every single level of corporate finance. So that's one theoretical reflection that triggered the convention of this conference. The second thing is that many of these arbitrage decisions seem to come, at least to the unlearned eye, a bit out of nowhere. So all of a sudden, say in Frankfurt, people operate with these NVs from the Netherlands. And when you talk to practitioners, as I have done, they say, well, it became fashionable somehow. A colleague started doing it, then we went along. At some point, there was an industry standard, and we just went with it. So there's also an empirical side to these arbitrage decisions that I believe merits our attention. And in order to get us going, to get these reflections going, we should be collecting perspectives on these various levels of corporate finance arbitrage. And this is what we're going to do today and tomorrow. As you can see from the program with the most renowned speakers, some of them in the world, I should say, you can see how every single speaker has picked a certain level of corporate finance and the arbitrage decisions made at that level. So what I hope we can do is we can collect perspectives, data on these arbitrage decisions, and then maybe arrive at some, at least preliminary conclusions as to this idea of intersecting arbitrage decisions and as to what the empirical data shows, what the actual practice of arbitrage in corporate finance is. Well, I'll leave it there and stop boring you, because we're all excited to hear from you, Noreen, and we're very thankful to have you here.